හිස්සොර නිසා සොරිද?
Forever ලුණුවිල anti-dandruff conditioning shampoo. ඖෂධීය ලුණුවිල ශාකසාරී හිස්සොරි සම්පූර්ණයෙන් පාලනය කර දැකුම් කළු නිරෝගී කෙස් කලමක් ලබා දෙයි.
Tennis on her face, I'm a believer, not a trace. God in my mind, 'cause I'm in love. I'm a believer, and I couldn't leave her if I tried.
Our guest this morning is an entertainer, actor, songwriter, all the way from London. It's with great pleasure I'd like to introduce Joey Lewis in our studios this morning. Good morning and welcome to our program.
Good morning, Derek. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure.
Joey, first of all, what was the purpose of your visit to Australia this time?
My purpose this time was I was brought here by Bertie Ekanaka to perform at the New Year's Eve dances that they had. Yeah. And we're doing a Valentine's Ball on the 11th of February, and then I'm going to Sydney and Brisbane and doing a couple of shows there and going back. So, yeah, I came here to spend some time singing to all of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you go back, will you be going to Sri Lanka and going back to London, or you're going flying back?
The other way around. I'm going to UK first, and I'll be there for a couple of weeks, and then I'm going back to Sri Lanka because I've got some shows happening there. So.
Joey, I mean, I know you as an entertainer for many, many years. I'd like to first of all ask you, at what age did you know that what age did you start your career?
There's two questions there.
Okay.
What age did I know I was going to be in the music business? I think I was born into it. Yeah. I don't think I knew. I think it was something that happened because I came from an illustrious background of musicians and all of that. I started performing at the age of 5 with my ukulele. It was my first radio show was when I was about 5 years old. Yeah.
This is at the Sri Lankan Ceylon Radio.
Ceylon. Radio Ceylon?
Yeah,
Radio Ceylon at the time, yeah.
So was it for the Melbourne Talent Quest?
It was it actually was for the Melbourne Talent Quest. I think I was about 5, it was 62 or something like that.
Okay. And then after, what happened in your career, in the music scene?
Well, if my memory serves me well, in '65 I performed on the Melbourne Talent Quest again, and a man called Derek Junke won the contest or something that year.
I was a finalist.
He was a finalist. And but that was this is during my schooling time, the young primary school age. So it was dabbling in the business. But then as I got much older and I reached, like 11 or 12, I was allowed to do a bit more things. So I started singing on various, I don't know whether you remember Malcolm Andre, who was a very famous promoter, Donovan Andre. So he had me on all of his shows because I was known as the little kid with the big voice. And then I performed with a very famous band called the Jetliners on their talent contest, which was, they had a very famous venue there called Coconut Grove, I think it was called, And then they had the Observer Talent Search. And I performed on that for 2 years. I think I was about 11 years old, or 10 years old. And I won the second year, but I was graciously disqualified.
Why were you disqualified?
Because I wasn't supposed to be there. I was 11 or 12 years old, and you had to be over 16 to be on the show. But again, I mean, I was delighted because they had me there to and people loved what I was singing. I was singing Little Honda and If I Had a Hammer and all those wonderful songs from those days. And you could sort of get on stage as a little 10-year-old and belt them out, and so that was that. And so that kind of then took me to a different level, because although I wasn't given the first prize, as it were, technically I had reached maturity as a performer, because I was performing with all the big artists there, and so that took me into a nice environment, and my mum allowed me a little more leeway to go and do a few more things.
I got to ask you this, Joey. Now, back in Sri Lanka, 13-year-old performing, was she strict and didn't want you to do any music?
I think my poor mum lived in hope because she was hoping that somewhere along the line I would actually study. But she was considerate enough to realize that having come from a family of musicians, not just her. I mean, my mother, my family.
She was one of the.
Was a very famous jazz singer there.
Yeah.
Her brothers were all jazz musicians, but before them, their aunts and uncles were classical.
What's her first name, Joey?
Mivanvi Pompeius, yeah.
That's right.
And so their uncles and aunts were classical musicians and all of that. So it was inevitable that music was going to be in our blood, and I just became a slave to it because I absolutely loved it. I mean, I just loved performing. I loved singing. So my mum was very strict in the nicest possible way. But she did relent once in a way, or more often than not, and let me get on with it. Yeah.
And then after that sort of talent quest, what was your next break?
A family friend of ours who grew up with my mum and her family, because they were all, as I said, they were all musicians and they all lived in that area of Ceylon in Colombo. I was a gentleman called Nimal Mendes. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Oh my God, one of
the famous,
very well respected performers.
Yes, absolutely. So Nimal, as I said, Nimal knew me from the time I was a baby, and he had an influence in my life because he was an original artist from day one. I mean, he wrote so many amazing pieces of music, and he came to Sri Lanka in about 1973, I think it was, with Manik Chandrasekhar, and they were going to do a series of musicals highlighting his songs with a few of the other pop songs of the day. And so he got me involved with that show. And that show was very high profile. I mean, it was like one of the biggest musicals that ever happened in Ceylon up until then. So that sort of took me to a different level, and it kicked me off into the more, it took me from being a sort of semi-pro into being almost a professional artist. Then I started actually getting paid properly for my services, and taken a bit more notice of. But I was very blessed because I always performed to wonderful audiences, and they loved what I was doing, and I loved being there with them. And so from the time I was a kid.
So what was your first band?
Well, then after New Age, I was sort of dabbling around with various things, and then I met up with three guys: Tony De Silva, Benji Ranabahu, and Donald Pieris, who were putting a band together, and so the four of us I got involved with them, and the four of us formed a band called Amazing Grace.
But I got to tell you this, Joey, sorry to interrupt you there. Amazing Grace is one of the known and one of the best bands in Sri Lanka, which as a kid I used to always read all the articles. So you all were as big as Jetliners that time.
We gave them a good run for their money because we were the kids. I mean I was 16 years old. When we formed Amazing Grace, 16 thereabouts, and so we sort of came out of nowhere. We came in from the left field, as it were, and took Colombo, Ceylon by storm. And so that sort of then really threw me into the professional world of performing, and we were then up against the professional side of it, and having to think of
like the Savages, Jetliners,
the Jetliners, Spitfires, all bands that we sort of grew up admiring, and they're the ones who set the bar for us to and we sort of got together, Tony, Donald, Benji and I, and formed Amazing Grace. In fact, my mum is the one who named the band for us.
That's nice.
And
but then after Amazing Grace, how long were you with the band?
Well, my mum actually got us a gig at a contract with Mount Rainier Hotel. And we were getting ready to start there and perform there, and I think I performed there a couple of times. But then Tony Fernando from the Jetliners headhunted me because I was a bass player. Although I was playing lead guitar with Amazing Grace, I'd started off as a bass player, and I was known as an interesting bass player. So he sort of sent the boys around to come and chat to me and talk to me and get me involved with the Jets, because the Jetliners were going on tour.
Were they going to India? Or?
They were going to India and Japan and Hong Kong and all these places. So I mean, I was 16 years old, 17 years old. The offer from the Jetliners to tour with them was beyond my wildest dreams. And I was petrified that my mom was going to say no. But she didn't. She said yes, I could go, provided I took my school books with me and I got all this stuff there. I don't know whether she was being naive or just consoling herself, but she said, and so I went, and I had a great time with them. But here's a little story, because my mom owed me, actually, because when I was about 13 or 14, there was a band called the Esquire Set. Now, I don't know whether you remember them, with Ralph Menezes.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember Ralph Menezes and all of those guys? And
you know, Ishan started off with them first.
Did he?
And then he joined the Jetliners.
No, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. No, I just learned that bit.
Yeah.
And what happened was Alston Cock was singing with the Esquire Set, and Alston was leaving the Esquire Set, and Uncle Ralph, as I knew him, Ralph Menezes, asked me if I wanted to join the band. And I was 13 and joined the Esquire Set, and one of the biggest bands. I mean, that was, you know,
a dream come true.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I walked home to tell my mom, I mean, I was walking on air. I don't think my feet touched the ground. But she dashed those dreams very quickly, and she said, "Not on your life. There's no way that you're going," because they were playing at all the socials and all the nightclubs and all the balls and all this shit. So, I think when the Jetliners asked me, many years later, I think she almost felt obliged to say, "Yeah, okay, you know, you can have a go."
There's no better place on earth than you. Yeah, I dream of you, Sri Lanka. Yeah.
I pray for you, Sri Lanka.
My hopes on you, Sri Lanka.
Our sponsors are Prestige Robes and Screens,
Travel Talk,
Transco Cargo,
Southern Star Motors,
Colombo Money Transfer,
Fairfield Lawyers,
Techno Motors,
Forever Skin Naturals,
D Legal,
Sahandro.